Seriously.
I think when I get to that age, I might just let it go if it likes. I wouldn't mind the silence.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kansas River, that's the biggest of that. Kansas River flood.
But yeah,
That stops there.
But we've always hanging on money because
In the beginning, that's what
it
happened.
just stops without their agencies to do with them. And it costs me a whole lot telling them.
So,
Yeah.
sure, Kansas River is running back in.
yeah, I got it.
Sometimes it's hard to have your hands on it.
You know
Yeah,
what?
it's two that's why they but do they change solutions available these days that are much less invasive? Yeah.
Tear that one and that's up.
Yeah, correct. You need to have that because when I was working.
Right, figure out what they're missing out.
You think it's just.
You don't have to notify it.
But my first
I think we're good.
operating before hearing protection.
Yeah, this is recording.
Yeah. So the high frequencies are probably gone.
Actually, it's.
Oh, is it really?
And it's so I can't say it after she sits in the car. But yeah, it's
But the lows just are kind of gone.
That's good enough. It's also good.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing you'll never win. Like,
That's it.
Life is good.
Starting that process.
That was
Still has a minute.
no,
There she is. See?
all you gotta do is look out for a Miata. Drifting on its way in.
No Miata today.
She's out right now.
Oh, geez.
So you weren't around here? Somebody was. No, what year is that?
There's another car.
Okay,
Just off mine.
yes, there is. I met her right at the.
So whenever you see him
Schminda
driving
Schmain,
fast,
street driver.
Driving too fast. I know it's you.
it's me.
You're doing good.
Cut on time.
For us, it is.
Earliest you've ever been late.
Well, good evening. My clock says 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Martin.
Here.
Templin.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Huggins. Milburn.
Here.
Maddox.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
All commissioners are present today.
Great. Item 3A, general business. Approve the planning commission agenda. Any changes or corrections to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll need to recuse myself for item 6A and 6B.
Note that. Hold that thought, and we'll get to that here in a minute. As far as the agenda goes, is there any changes we need to make?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So there was, Mike did send an email.
Oh.
Not to everybody. It was
Okay.
just a discussion at the end, maybe if I could just have a couple minutes to just bring up a discussion.
Not as an agenda item, just as a discussion item at
Correct.
the end.
Yeah,
Okay,
if that's okay.
well, that's fine. Then
Okay.
Justin, I think you have a fabulous motion.
Yeah, I make a motion, we add the discussion at the end of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda as written?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda's approved. Item 3B, approve the minutes of the planning commission meeting held on December 16th, 2025. Any changes, corrections, additions to be made? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes have been approved. Item C, disclosure of conflicts of interest. You're on.
I'll need to recuse myself for item 6A and 6B.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no further discussion on that. Disclosure of outside communications regarding commission business. Anyone have discussions about items on the agenda tonight? Okay. Moves us then to item 4, call to the public. Members of the public who wish to address the planning commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Any presentations for informational purposes, no action is taken. There's a 4-minute time limit. Anyone like to address the planning commission tonight on matters not before the commission? Seeing none. Mike, I'm assuming we have nobody online?
Correct.
I will close the call to the public. That takes us to items 6A and 6B. Thank you. We'll let you know.
Oh, yeah, he'll be in the construction zone until
Good luck.
it's torn up back there.
Item 6A, consider preliminary plat for Cedar Valley Estates. Brad, you have a
All
report?
right. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, you know, we talked about this at the December meeting, and there were some issues that residents raised about flooding. Also, the sidewalk location was also an item that was discussed. And then additionally, talked about street trees. And we'll be kind of getting to the street trees at a new item on the agenda tonight. But basically, as we've gone through this and talked with the developer and resident engineer also here in the audience tonight, if you have any specific questions for that. But after talking with Joe and Todd Allenbrand, who is the engineer for the applicant, the flooding issues will not make a change in any of the development, or this development won't change the potential for flooding. If you want more of the details, Joe could explain all the intricacies of how the Kansas River works and how it might change some things, but the development itself is not going to be an issue. So I feel confident in telling the Planning Commission those words and items, so for your consideration. The other thing is and I'm not going to go through all the items that we went through last time. I think we're pretty well versed in all the items for the preliminary plat. The sidewalk issue. The applicant has decided that they would like to, as part of the Homes Association, install the sidewalk. So there could be some areas where the sidewalk might go onto the private property, but it will be installed and maintained by the developer and maintained by the Homes Association. So I'm okay with that, and I've spoken with Joe about it, and he's also in agreement with that approach for the sidewalk. And it is shown on the preliminary plat, so there is a sidewalk. Now, it may not be exactly like that one, but it is shown on the plat itself. So it may weave around a little bit depending on the ditch section of the roads and some of those types of things. But the sidewalk is also taken care of. The one remaining item is the streetlights. Staff has recommended that streetlights be shown at on Cedar Creek Road, also the short cul-de-sac that comes into the subdivision, and also at the very end of the subdivision. So we're in disagreement with that, and if the applicant would like to address the Planning Commission on it, that item, he certainly may, but staff is wanting to have streetlights. Developing in the city, that's part of our process for being in the city is streetlights, and that's part of what we do. And the last thing is the landscaping plan. Now, on the preliminary plat, it does show what our current policy that's in the city code, 40 feet on center. The applicant, we did talk about, and it did come up the last planning commission meeting about having, massing the trees to have a little bit more of a rural type feel, not so much the, I guess, lollipop kind of entrance that you would see more commonly in a denser city subdivision. However, our code says 40 feet and there is no remedy for that. So that's why that is shown like that. So we do have it up as a later agenda item to talk about whether or not Planning Commission wants to make a recommendation to City Council to change the city code for rural subdivisions only, to allow massing of the trees. It won't decrease the amount of trees that are planted, but instead of just having them, soldiered, marching up and down the roadway itself, they can be massed and grouped more so like you would see in a rural area. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will stand for any questions you may have, and once again, the applicant is in the audience tonight.
Questions for Brett?
Yes, so Brett, are we approving the landscape plan as it's presented, or it's with a stipulation?
Yeah, at this point, my suggestion is that you would approve it with the landscape plan as presented, and then the applicant can modify it so if the City Planning Commission and City Council agree to make the amendment to the city code.
And that seems right to me, because we can't just unilaterally just throw that out the window. I mean, if we're gonna make a change to the code, then they could always come back and redo it, right?
Right.
I'm having a hard time picking out where the sidewalks are. Is there?
They're
which one's the
actually,
best slide to look at?
yeah, there are actually shown as along the street itself. It crosses, right about the midpoint of the cul-de-sac. You can,
Would page 6 be the best page to look at?
Yeah, you can kind of see it there.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the landscape plan, you see that shaded here, can you see the cursor?
Mm.
Yep.
So there's a sidewalk there, crosses the street, and then along, it's on the south side of the street.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing also, Mr. Chairman, I did talk to the applicant about a common mailbox drop. That's the policy of the post office now, and they've talked about, they have agreed to put that on the preliminary plat, so it's part of the application itself. Now, it's still a bit to be determined exactly where it's going to go, but probably about the midpoint where that short cul-de-sac is that you can see.
Slide 6, right before that first cul-de-sac. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Brad, you might have said this, and I apologize, I didn't hear it, but in the conditions number 3, have those drainage floodplain issues been addressed? Is that?
Yeah, once again, talking with the applicant, Joe, there's concern there certainly by some of the residents, especially the one that's just to the south, and they're also on the west side of Cedar Creek Road, in between the road and the creek. But everything that I've talked with Joe and the applicant's engineer about is this development won't affect their property.
Was there? Sorry. There's 2 lots on here that's 1 acre and 1.1 acres. I know. Did we resolve what the minimum size was supposed to be?
Well,
For these?
for a rural subdivision, it's supposed to be 1.5 average.
Okay.
And so they've exceeded that because there's almost 80 acres there and there are 19 lots.
I think the one that was bothering me, Charlie, was
So the average lot size is 2.
was kind of the buildable area on this.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of those were like an acre square. The lot itself well exceeds that.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Floodplain area.
I see. Okay.
That's what got me thrown last time. So, as I understand what you're saying, Brad, I guess 2 things. One, I take note of the fact that there was a half a ream of paper that was given on the storm study and that you guys have all reviewed it and you don't think we're making anything worse.
Correct.
Okay. Then second is, the issue we have is whether or not to require more than one street light.
Yes, sir.
And in accordance with our code, we would require 3.
Yes.
Subdivision. So we believe the applicant is gonna ask us for something different.
Yeah, and the thing about our code is it isn't that specific about streetlights, not like the street trees. It's bang, 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 but
Okay.
that's our standard, sort of our internal policy.
Any other questions for Brad?
So we have one street light right at the entrance.
Right, and they've agreed to that one at Cedar Creek Road.
Gotcha. And then Brad, your desire would be to have it 2 more probably?
Yeah, somewhere around where Mike's got the cursor in that area, and then, of course, at the end of the cul-de-sac
Okay.
in that area.
I assume cost is the reason why. Oh, okay.
No, you'll look the subdivision.
Yeah, they feel like to make it more of a, once again, a rural subdivision, you wouldn't typically have a street light, but I guess Joe and I's argument is that's great, but you're in the city limits of DeSoto and that's our policy. And while you want to have a rural subdivision, cities require streetlights, so. And so
Well,
we're willing to bend a little on the landscaping with the text amendment, and then also the cul-de-sac length was another thing that we have talked about, because it does exceed our requirement, but the planning commission can waive that. Under circumstances like this, it's a very low density development, so don't feel that cul-de-sac length is gonna be a hindrance to public safety issues or anything like that.
I was just gonna say that living in a rural subdivision, I kinda like having a street light at least key locations, and the ones you're talking about don't seem unreasonable to me, and I do appreciate the fact that we like to see the stars at night, but we got big lots here and we're spread out. I don't know that I necessarily think that diminishes the value of the rural nature of the subdivision if you have a street light at the cul-de-sac bulbs and kind of something out there that, at least for safety purposes, there's some lighting out there. So I'd certainly support staff's view on that, but certainly happy to hear any argument. Okay, any other questions for Brad? I suppose it wouldn't hurt to hear from the applicant in terms of addressing that issue, and hopefully we've characterized all this correctly.
I'll just touch on it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead on that.
Couple.
Give us your name and address for the record.
Brad Tigger, 19598 South Clearview Road. 2 points. Yeah, not because of cost, just because of the feel. And we were, about the lighting, we thought about possibly doing something in the HOA to say that we would require accent lighting, a minimum of accent lighting. That way you get the light coming in off the homes itself and lighting up the road rather than on the road itself. So it gives more of an acreage feel, which is why we wanted to get the trees off the road too. So it has nothing to do with cost, it's just the feel. And I got some good news for Linda.
What's that?
Pressure release valve at the end of the 12-inch at where the 2-inch connects. So we did some research at Water One. If you call the guys at Water One, we'll actually turn that pressure up for you.
They told us one time they couldn't, but we will call them again.
Strong arm them, because Trent did some research and he's like, yeah, we got a pressure relief valve. If it's low pressure, we can just turn it up. So good news for you. And they said that there wasn't any impact on the downline supply from us adding this, that it should be more than adequate because it's 12 inches that we're extending.
Just a counter to your light thing.
Yes, sir.
I live on 30574 West 98th, which is a very similar size lots and houses.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you, we've got 3 streetlights, and those things come in real handy around Halloween when you've got hundreds of kids
Yeah.
running up and down the streets and whatnot. So I would side with Roger here.
Well, I'm not, and it's not a deal killer. It's just it's just a preference that we had. I live on acreage myself in southern Johnson County,
Yep.
and we don't get any trick or treaters. We have Clearview Road; it just kind of passes through. We have one street light, but we all have accent lighting, and that accent lighting goes almost to the road. And I think I'm 100-foot setback. So
That's a heck of an accent light.
yeah, there's a lot of. If I'm a builder, I know an electrician. I can hook you up with some if you want to bid.
I
Yeah.
can tell you in developments like this, you get hybrid trick-or-treaters, which is dads on four-wheelers, towing
Well,
trailers.
If you get the full-size candy bars, you could be right. You could have a lot of,
We haven't had any trick-or-treaters and we've lived up.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
I-
having driven many trick-or-treaters around being pulled behind a John Deere tractor,
When
I'll say
I,
that does happen.
this would probably be a little pocket, you know,
Yeah.
people would get kind of clicky and they'd all want to travel in and around there on their UTVs.
Would it be written into your HOA, part of the lighting requirements?
Well, that's what we were supposing as a supplemental, but Trent, I mean,
Yeah, I
I would
sent
probably
him a draft
required it
draft.
anyways.
Yeah, I did look at, but that's typically not what the planning commission reviews, is home association.
Yeah.
I did read a great book. It's basically about how HOAs control everything down in Houston, and so that's all a wonderful way as an alternative to zoning.
Right.
I
No,
don't think we're
well,
here yet,
fair enough.
so we kind of have to still follow those rules.
Did you guys have any other questions? Another note, we did already start to seed that to native grass. So 2 pounds per acre native grass, which is pretty low. But over the next course of 3 to 4 years of development, if you add 2 pounds and it goes to seed, and you keep mowing it twice a year. So it's got winter forage wheat, native grass, and oats on it. So
Hopefully help keep some of the water down.
water and to establish the native grasses.
Yeah.
And we thought about possibly, not that it matters, but we tossed around the idea of requiring a minimal amount of the yard to be a pollinator plot, like a 50 by 50 or something like that. Because it's cool and it looks neat.
Yeah.
And you can incorporate your trees in that pollinator plot, make a mound, have your native grasses, a couple few trees.
Sure.
So just something that looks a little more jazzy than trees and a house.
I get it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other
Yep.
questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Good.
All right, matters before the planning commission.
Real quick, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Todd Allenbrand, 102 Abbey Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, with Renaissance Infrastructure Consulting. So they do have a draft, just to let you know, the HOA, they were going to require soffit lighting on the front facade of the houses to kind of address some of the lighting issues where the, kind of gives the homeowners the ability to control what the light, if it's on or off. But they're not opposed to adding the lights, I mean, if it comes down to it. The other thing is I don't know, did you get the street tree plan that I'd sent you, the alternative one? Because I had emailed it to you,
Yeah, you did show
okay.
it to me, but
So just,
it's included because
yeah, I know.
the standard hasn't changed.
I'm just curious, how does that work? We had sent in a plan with 80-foot centers and clustered on the lots as an alternative, because you mentioned,
Yeah.
give us an alternative. So I was kind of hoping it would have been in your packet, but if we come back for the street trees, what is that is that just a submittal to staff for reapproving it, or can you look at that street tree plan when you guys discuss the street trees later tonight? I don't know if that would be helpful, or if you can pull it up even.
Well, I guess one thing Mr. Chairman, I did talk to Patrick, our city attorney, about that. He felt it almost sort of was a planning commission decision if it's okay to approve based upon city council action. Because like I said, the preliminary plat it's really just an internal document for the city itself. Doesn't
Right, the problem is we're
include
approving the
anything
final
like that.
plat too, right?
Pardon me?
We're approving the final plat too, that's the next thing.
Right, but that doesn't have any of the landscaping or anything
Okay.
like that, it's just property setbacks.
Okay.
Not even setbacks.
So the idea would be that we could revisit the preliminary plat if there was a change in the code.
Well, I'm thinking if you approve it, you could also add, if the council ultimately approves the text amendment, that could be administratively approved.
I don't have any objection to that, do you guys? No. Okay, good solution.
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of getting at, is like, how would we go back through this process? I mean, if it's resubmitting a whole preliminary plat, that's a kind of a intense exercise
No, I
just
get
to
it.
get the trees addressed.
I think all of us agree with you guys, the lollipop look is probably not what you're going for.
Yeah, it looks all right in a normal 70-foot wide lots, kind of,
Yeah.
more dense stuff, but in a rural thing, I think it'll look better.
Yeah.
80-foot centers and cluster wherever they want to put the additional trees. All right, that was the only thing I wanted to address. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the matters before the planning commission, what are your thoughts?
I do think that lights are necessary. We do have an increase in walkers down on Cedar Creek. And I think once these sidewalks go in, we're gonna have more people utilizing and the trees you got picked out, I think are just gonna be gorgeous. I think people are gonna be walking a lot down there, so, you know, that's my 2 cents on the lights, but, and the cluster of the trees, I think is a good idea, just so that it gives it more of a rural feel as well, so I would agree with that.
Great. Exactly with what Linda said.
Same thing?
We're all in agreement with Linda?
All right.
I'll think about that.
So I think in terms of an action item here, the fourth item that would be here on the conclusion of the staff report would be to allow staff to approve alternative landscaping plan if council changes the rural subdivision street tree requirements. Is that something that you guys would entertain?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a fourth item, if you're gonna make a motion. Any further
Well, just-
discussion?
There's two things that we're saying, right? We're gonna agree with staff on lighting
I
for a
think-
total of 3.
All three of those items are,
Oh, thank you.
Number 4 would be.
I didn't print the whole phone book out.
oh, okay. Got it. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make an motion that we approve the plat as submitted with the staff recommendations to include the trees to allow for staff approval,
Alternative landscaping plan.
alternative landscaping plan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Martin,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Templin,
Yes.
Maddock,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Huggins. Oh, he's not here. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. That moves us then to item 6B, consider the final plat for Cedar Valley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on, we've kind of covered a lot of the ground of the final plat, but as you know, this is typically just roads, right-of-ways, easements, all those types of things that we went through the checklist. It does meet our standards for development. This is a document, obviously, it does get recorded down at the county courthouse. It will go to city council for accepting road right-of-way and easements. But the planning commission does approve the plat itself, but it's really property division that is shown on a final plat. I did add the note on there that the Homes Association would maintain right-of-way, or pardon me, the sidewalks for the subdivision as a condition. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Brad? Motion.
Make a motion, we approve the final plat as submitted with staff's comment and move forward the plat to city council for acceptance of right-of-way and easements.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Maddock,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Templin,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
I have a question.
Come on back.
I have a question. Do you ever offer an opportunity to the community to speak or ask a question, or when was that supposed to be?
So this is not a public hearing item.
Okay, so it was dismissed last time too, that no one was allowed, no one spoke.
So at the end of the last meeting, I suggested that if you had comments or concerns, that you talk about them with city staff. Did you have a chance to do that?
And that isn't the way I understood it, that we have an opportunity to speak, but if that's the way it works, that's the way it works. So,
Well, I'm sorry, it is not a public hearing on this matter.
Nope. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Item 7A. Discuss text amendment for accessory building maximum size of 5-acre lots and above, and street tree requirements for rural subdivisions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the past few years, we've gotten calls from residents that have large lots, 5 acres and more, that have kind of run up against our maximum size for accessory buildings. And it's frustrated them because a lot of them are not the original builder, but whoever built the house then built like a 3-car garage off to the side, matches the house perfectly, things like that. And then maybe somebody built a small barn or a shed. And because it's a detached garage, that counts against their size requirement. So it's kind of come up a few times, and really a variance is not going to work because, I mean, the rule's the rule. And, you know, just even though they might have 10, 15 acres, they felt like, man, we could put something bigger on our property completely out of the way that nobody would see or anything like that. And so it was, early on, it was kind of more of a one-off here and there, but in the last 8 months, I've probably had 3, 4 requests about having, you know, to increase the size. So doing a little bit of research, I looked at Lenexa, Shawnee, and Olathe. Unfortunately, there's no consistency on any of these communities' maximum lot size. So I just sort of took a stab at some of the things that I thought might work in DeSoto. But Lenexa, basically, if you're over 5 acres, they had no limit as long as it met their zoning setback requirements, some of their stormwater issues, things like that. So they really, you know, they just have at it, you know, as long as you meet our conditions. Olathe, on the other hand, had a 1,200 square foot max, period, for a shed. And you can have a detached garage, I think it was 1,000 square feet. So they're really had the screws down pretty tight. And then Shawnee was the maximum size. It could be the same size. It could be, the footprint couldn't be any bigger than the house. So if you built a huge house, you could have a huge accessory building. So there's really no correlation to anything. And then you look at DeSoto's, we've actually got a pretty good table. I kind of like that because it actually drops down and lets people who have smaller lots have an accessory building. As you can see that as you go up in acreage, we decrease the amount of square footage. There's a standard size, and then it kind of decreases as you get larger and larger. So I've just made a suggestion at 5 to 10, instead of 200 square feet over the 3,200 square feet allowed, it would be 300 and it kind of is consistent how it steps down. So that'd be a 4,700 square foot max building, and then over 10 plus, I mean, that's just kind of a 7,500. That's a pretty good sized building. So there's really no rhyme or reason to that maximum size. Maybe we could even, you know, looking at, you know, Lenexa's standard or Shawnee's might be something you want to consider. But you know, at some point there is something about too much is too much. I don't know if we want to have somebody build a small arena or anything like that.
Which we have, sometimes out of town.
But so, and once again, you know, people that have horses or whatever, if they've got the ability to do that, you know, is that really necessarily a problem? 7,500 square feet may not be enough, but at some point it does seem to me that there needs to be an upward cap. So I really haven't given you much help on that, but none of our surrounding neighbors have really done much work on that as well. So they've kind of got anywhere from knock yourself out from Lenexa to 1,200 square feet in Olathe, and that's a big gap in between. So I just gave a number of 7,500. Nobody's asked for anything more than that. Just going through some of my emails and remembering conversations. So that's kind of where I came up with the 7,500.
So Brad, just so I'm clear, what numbers are we changing? Is it just the 300 and the 7,500?
Yeah, that's actually, and then I actually added one thing, you know, for dummies like me, I always like to have the max size in there. We don't really spell it out very well in our table, so that's why I added that to the table itself. So you just, so somebody looks at it and says, okay, bang, that's as big as I can get.
So really it's the 7,500 and the 300, and the other ones are just for clarity.
Correct.
Okay.
Obvious question. I'm assuming this solves the recent number of inquiries you've gotten.
Yes, it would. I've actually had a few in the 5 to 10 and actually a couple in the 10 plus that were, think, wow, I'm gonna have to somehow attach my garage now to my house, and they're talking about all these sort of crazy things. It's like, maybe it's time to relook at how we,
And they were good with that 7,500 square feet.
yeah.
I don't have any problem with making this change. I guess my question is our accessory building requirements sufficient so that we're not actually creating accessory living space requirements, or living spaces? Because that's the thing that kind of troubles me about the proliferation of large accessory buildings, is if
Right.
they were gonna end up being,
Get a barn dominium.
3 families that are gonna live in there, and, it's a little different situation. But we have limitations on that, right?
That is correct, yeah. We don't allow mother-in-law quarters or separate buildings to be living spaces. And that kind of does fall on our building officials department. When they get plans, I know I've talked to them about it, they look at those things. Now, if somebody had 20 acres and they built a big building and back in the middle of nowhere, they decided to do something, they could probably get away with it. But generally speaking, that has not been an issue. Because they could actually try to get away with it with a small one too, smaller lot. So I don't think that's relative to the size of the property that somebody might try to sneak one in, but it really hasn't, that I know of, been a problem.
Well, are you looking for comment tonight?
Yeah, if this works, we'll schedule a public hearing for the next meeting. We actually might have quite a few public hearings on this next planning commission meeting, but
I personally have no feel about it. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't have any real strong feelings. It just kind of, it seems like if you've got less than an acre, I'm not sure why you would need more than one house.
yeah, I've seen that too. And, some of them, if you put up a little shed or a shack or something, that counts. So sometimes people have a little barn, not a barn, but, some Home Depot kind of shed. And so you could actually end up having more than just one bigger one. So that's kind of, I think, the grace that,
I guess what I question is, is that what we want on quarter acre or half acre lots, more than one outbuilding? And then on the other side, if you exceed 10 acres of ground, I guess I would be more inclined to not put a limit on the building.
well, that's fair.
Yeah, I kind of like Lenex's language.
I would concur with that as well. I like Lenex's. I think that's a good idea.
On 5 acres or larger, just say,
10 acres or larger.
so you do that with 10, because Lennox is on 5, right?
But if somebody comes in with 100,000 square foot horse arena, is there something we needed to say, tie it to,
Well, at some point, the square footage and then sprinkler systems come into play and a lot of those things.
Okay.
The occupancy of the building would be a potential. And maybe I could work with Cameron on, so we don't get with something or somebody builds like I said, a small horse arena or something that has some seating or whatever,
Just like
to keep that from happening.
Yeah, so they have something here that says, as long as they follow open space requirements, something.
Yeah, a little
just
more
like
tighter.
that,
Yeah.
just to tie something in.
Another question I had, is this square footage reference a footprint, or is that square footage of floor space? Because, these arenas do have second stories.
Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always said it was the footprint.
We are specific about that, It's only been 15 years since I probably read. I think it's just footprint though. I don't think it includes the multiple stories. Now we have maximum height, of course, requirement that would limit probably to 2 stories, but I believe it's just footprint. I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, some things to explore for when you bring it back.
Yeah.
Other comments or feedback? Okay, well, if that satisfies what we need to talk about tonight on that, then I guess the question is, for us on the street trees.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it in our discussion about the preliminary plat, about the street tree linear plantings. And the code does say it's one large deciduous street tree for every 40 foot of frontage. It doesn't discern between rural subdivisions or R1 or the R2As or anything. It's 40 feet. And so that's why, you know, once again, talking with building official departments, like, you know, the only way around that is to change the code if that's the direction the planning commission would like to go. So I actually just had that other, and I added that language about street tree plantings grouped along street frontage for rural subdivisions only. And then the total trees would still equal the street length divided by 40. So you're still getting the exact same amount of trees you would normally get, but they can be massed in a way that doesn't just look like they're just dropped in a row. So we kind of covered all these things, but that's kind of the language I was proposing. And I know at times we've kind of gotten in the weeds on some of those things, but that's quite all right. So that's why I like to bring these up to the planning commission before we have a public hearing. Make sure you're comfortable with the language that's in front of you.
One thing I guess I'd like to consider is what I call a rural style roadway with no curb and gutter.
Mhm.
If you're gonna have a ditch, a roadside ditch along the edge of the pavement, that usually, you know, has pretty steep slopes to the right of it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't wanna put trees in the ditch, and I really wouldn't wanna put them on the slope either. So, I just wonder if maybe we could think about rural style roadways differently than a regular curb and gutter street that has plenty of entrance.
Yeah, and that was kind of the issue when we talked about earlier with the sidewalk, is because you have a rural section. You know, where's the sidewalk gonna go? Because it may drop off fairly quickly at the edge of the road. It doesn't work well for a sidewalk, but that's how we came up with the Homes Association installing, well, the developer installed, the Homes Association would maintain it. So it may end up weaving through on private property. But I can get with Joe and Mike and talk about if we want to tackle that. But I guess for the immediate thing is clearing this up for the street trees.
Well, I think the solution you've suggested sounds appropriate, and it also kind of addresses that, because it allows the applicant to do groupings that aren't necessarily in 40-foot fronts, but has the same number of plantings. So I think that's a pretty good solution.
So they're still doing 80 foot along the road and the rest of the trees can be grouped? Is that how that's being?
I think the way I read this is that none of them have to be necessarily on the road. So you can group them as long as they have as many as 40.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe I should. Does the street tree need in the street right away?
No. No, there's no, actually, we prefer it not to be in the street, right? It's just in the front yard.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a set distance from the curb or between the house or exactly how far. So when you were talking about that, it comes to my mind that there's
Right.
nothing that says a street tree can't be set back of the sidewalk, of the ditch, and matter of fact, I don't think we'd want them in the right of way.
Well, that's, as you say that, I started thinking, yeah, we've kind of,
There have been, but there's two schools of thought on that. Public works guys are like, keep them out of the right of way. And the neighborhood planners are like, they belong between the sidewalk and the curb. I see.
Most of the planners seem to want it right next to the curb.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe the language should be, instead of street tree plantings, it should be frontage plantings?
Yeah, something different. Yeah. It does imply that they're in the right of way.
Yeah.
This is not a public hearing.
I would suggest give whatever comments you have to Brad, because he's gonna have to bring this back for, talk to him about it. This is just for getting input from the group at this point.
Should we clarify that? You know, we say rural subdivision, but should we say RO?
I suppose we could do that because it's only allowed, actually, I think R1 can have rural subdivisions as well, but
Oh,
Yeah, real subdivision is actually a defined term, right? So that's probably capital R and D, or an S.
is it, if it's defined?
I think it is. Don't we have a special
Yeah,
section
we
on
do
rural
have a-
subdivisions?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So that should probably be defined, the capitalized word. And I think frontage may be better than street.
okay, we got that noted.
Well, I guess my preference would be working into the requirements, the understanding that these trees are out by the, in front of the house, not necessarily
Behind it or something.
in.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true.
I also like the idea that the number of trees are based on 40 foot of center storms. Not necessarily
At 40.
having them
Right.
staged. Well, that looks good.
Well, it ain't Prairie Village. Any other comments for Brad?
I appreciate your input.
Look forward to getting it back. That concludes our agenda. Council meeting on the 3rd and the 17th, and our next meeting is the 24th. Any other, oh, Mike wanted to talk
Yeah,
about
if I could
something.
just, a quick discussion here. If you'll entertain it, again, I apologize, this is something that just came up, really within the last week or so, so I didn't have a chance to put it in. But, as you know, within our zoning regulations, there's a, and I'll pull it up here, appendix, to our zoning regulations, regarding allowable uses in any particular zoning district. Let me get a moment while I pull it up here. As soon as I pull it up, it'll be familiar. So we have this table that's at the back of our zoning that defines the allowable uses in our zoning district. You'll remember recently, Astor Enterprise Park has rezoned several thousand acres to M1 light industrial. And the city's overall pursuits out there align with theirs. Advanced manufacturing, jobs generators, positive economic development with the least negative impacts possible. And so when you look at the amount of land that's zoned in one, there's a substantial amount. Most of it's at Astor Enterprise Park. Recently, and really over the years, we've had a number of economic development pursuits that are in the advanced manufacturing industry that would require a special use permit in the M1 district, but would be allowed by right in the M2 district. And so when the applicants or the site selectors are looking at whether or not their use is allowed on any particular site they're proposing, they see a special use permit. That's the same thing as saying it's not allowed to them, because as we know, special use permits often come with a public hearing and a process, but most impactfully, they have a term.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, any manufacturing is going to come in and invest in the community. There's this resistance to obviously having a term, so we're not able to, say that use is so. And tonight, there have been several proposed applicants or possible pursuits like that. They're in the auto manufacturing industry. I guess you could say Panasonic might be one of those, although it's in a different electronic sort of thing. But if you look at these allowable uses, and you look at manufacturing as a whole, essentially, it's in use group, this is NAICS use groups, use group 31. So these columns are a little difficult to see on the screen here, but the far right column is the M2 zoning district, and the next to the right column is the M1 district. So for instance, the first one here, food manufacturing, is allowable in the M2, but only by special use permit in M1. If you look down here to chemical manufacturing, which is probably a more impactful, highly, more sensitive from environmental and impact on the overall community, those are only allowed by special use permit in the M2, I think appropriately. But if you look at things like, for instance, the where is transportation manufacturing. So 336 specifically is the one I'm thinking about now. Transportation manufacturing involves everything you would think of with automobile manufacturing, body panels. There's subcategories for engine assemblies, and there's subcategories for some of this. Would not involve essentially the manufacture of parts from raw materials, but the assembly of parts. Transportation manufacturing, you see, generally needs a special use permit in the N1, and I'd like to entertain the idea that we permit this use group in the N1. So if you drill down a little bit further, the way our code works here is if it's in this use group 331, that includes a lot of things. So guided missile manufacturing is in there. So I think at some point somebody said, whoa, guided missiles, let's make sure that is only allowed by special use permit in M2. You can look at the other use groups in there. As you drill down just a little further, you'll see some of the other use groups that are involved in this. So they all start with 336. So there's motor vehicle manufacturing, body and trailer manufacturing, parts manufacturing, aerospace is on there, shipbuilding is in there. I think it's certainly with the state of these types of projects. When you used to think about making cars and things, it's a different use category when you think about the 1950s and 60s in Detroit. Then you would think about Fairfax now, or a new facility that would come in, where the use is largely contained in structures. There's no outside moving of materials or storage handling. Outside the vibrations, the noise, that sort of thing is far less impactful. So from an intensity of use standpoint, if you think about the state of advanced manufacturing now, I think it's appropriate to allow those in the M1 district by right. You just allow that by permit. There are other things that we might look at as well. Computer and electronic products, the NAICS code 333, and then electrical equipment and appliance component, I think would sort of fit into that same sort of. For instance, there was, and this project's kind of dead now in a way, so I can talk about it, but there was a company that wanted to manufacture solar panels, a recyclable solar panel, kind of the next sort of generation of solar panels. That would have fallen under 335, electrical equipment compliance component, but the use was very much, like you would envision. It was a much smaller scale, but envision the Panasonic. It's a large building. It's all the activities take place inside. There's not a lot of bulk material storage moving around or emissions, things like that. So I'd like for the Planning Commission to consider that at the next meeting possibly.
What's Panasonic fall under? What are they?
Panasonic, we actually made a specific carve out for them, and that is in battery manufacturing and recycling. So we did this. This was a text amendment 4 years ago, and so now you can see it's permitted by right in M1.
Okay, I was wondering because it sounded like it should have fallen. We carved it out. Okay, that makes sense.
So a good example of this would be like John Deere coming in here and build tractors.
Yeah, or Kubota. Kubota's another good example. It's down in Edgerton now.
Why do you want to do that in an M1 as opposed to an M2 anyway?
So here's the thing. The choice we have is to not pursue these pursuits, which I think the pursuit of these are supported by the council for sure, or rezone vast swaths of property to M2 out there. because there's no middle ground. When a company comes in and sees a special use, an S under this column, they consider that it's not allowed. I mean, they.
Is there a reason we don't vote it to an M2? What's the downside?
The reason you don't want to move to an M2 because then it opens up permitted uses on some of these other less desirable and more intense.
That's better than just randomly assigning whatever one happens to have an interest and making an M1 okay? I mean,
Well, that's
there's a
why
reason
that's
you
why I'm
have the
saying
distinction.
there's this category, and of course we could go through the whole thing, right, and kind of
Right.
reassign these, and
It's like
somebody
the
did that originally.
It's like the R1A thing, like it's
It-
kind of. Hey, no, seriously, it's like, instead of doing R2, you
Yeah.
do the smaller
Yeah.
lots, we're saying, okay, R1A, you can do single family, but you can't do duplexes.
And I think that's a reasonable response to a changing industry and a new product that make. And I think this is sort of along the same lines.
Yep.
A reasonable response to a changing.
Mike, is it fair to say that you're trying to carve out M1 as a light manufacturing, and then M2 would be more of heavy
Yeah,
manufacturing?
well, sure. I mean, that's the intent of
Yeah.
it.
Well, the question is, if you're putting together cars, is that heavy manufacturing? And I guess we're saying we don't think it is.
Correct.
But I'm not sure that's right.
I
I mean, I don't know.
oh, I'm sure. I mean,
I guess,
I'm open for discussion on that.
in my mind, simple version. When I think of M1, I think of, a contained business that has an industrial purpose. M2, it could be a pipe supplier, it could be anybody that, has outdoor storage. And, it occurs to me that maybe like the auto manufacturing or assembly or things like that.
Isn't the
changed.
concrete batch plants, aren't they M1 approved?
That's a special use permit.
Oh, that's special
Yeah,
use,
it's
okay.
special use.
Just
Okay.
ballparking, these people that are coming in, how big of lots do they need?
Hundreds of acres.
Okay, so there's no other spot in DeSoto besides the
No, I
spot
get
out
it.
there at Astra that would be impacted, like local stuff that's M1 right now in the town of DeSoto.
Yeah.
They would not be able to go in those spots.
Correct. Yeah, I mean these, of
Yeah.
course, these.
Yeah, those users, yeah.
I'm not saying it might be some very small scale supplier
I-
that might be able to go on 4 acre lots.
I kind of always thought M2 was more so hazardous stuff versus M1 is a little bit less hazardous.
It's that, yeah, it's impact to neighbor, it's just overall intensity of use standing at the property line and looking in.
Yeah.
I mean, stand out the street in front of it, what's it look like? That's probably oversimplification.
If we, I guess I see a possibility here that we create a land use district. And that district has special considerations. It has M1 zoning, but it allows for other uses that don't include the bad.
We do have other pockets of M1 outside of Astra.
Yeah, it's not the only way.
There's a few.
Mike, I get the feeling that the pursuance of these areas are maybe Panasonic adjacent or in similar fields.
No,
Oh.
no, not
okay.
really. I mean, I would make, that's, no.
Okay.
It's manufacturing, some are in the auto industry, like I said, solar panels.
Okay.
We've had pharmaceutical companies take a very close look. Power generation, yeah, well, the solar field. So I wouldn't make
Okay.
that sense.
The reason why I responded the way I did is because I know how much you love that R1A.
It is on the books.
But
No, I
his
just-
protest was on the books too.
Yes.
You want a bigger shaker of salt?
No, I just laughed because I thought here goes a M1A. Yeah.
I mean, I have no reason to have any background or knowledge as to the intensity of the use of the categories you're suggesting versus how that compares to Panasonic. I'll take your word for it. Manufacturing's gotten so much better, they don't need to have the M2 designation. It's not gonna be intrusive, it's not heavy, whatever it may be, but I don't know that. And, I guess if my concern with this is that we're just gonna ad hoc make these judgments based if somebody wanted it, well, then we'll go ahead and change it, then it's like, that troubles me. There's, the theory behind it, the basis behind it is that the M2 uses are more intense, I'm assuming, than the M1 uses, and as you've noted, it's from the street or outdoor storage or whatever those may be. I don't know that any of those are inappropriate on Astra. I mean, Astra is an industrial site, and they chose to do it all as M1, and I'm assuming that was for marketing reasons, that it was more valuable to them as M1 than it was M2. Gave more options maybe. So that was the applicant's choice in doing all that. And if part of it should be designated M2 because they have M2 industries that want to use it, then I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But I also don't think we want to make this harder for people to build out there, because the idea here is you have property you want them to use. So I guess I'm going back and forth on it, but it just troubles me to say, well, yeah, there's somebody who's interested in this, so let's go ahead and just change the designations. What was the basis for that? I mean, we do have other M1s in the area, and so that does, I suppose, allow for somebody else to become a manufacturer of heavier parts or whatever it may be that is in some of those other M1s. That's probably not what we want.
Which is why you have the special use in the first place.
Which is why you do the special use permit.
To consider case by case.
Yeah, engineered air in
Yep.
one, most of Commerce Park, Hutamaki, the Red Pacific, and then Merck.
Is Merck under a special use permit, or is that allowed under M1?
No, it's just allowed under M1.
Okay. I know you said pharmaceutical was looking at it, so I was wondering if there was something that we didn't allow.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's not just Astra.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, if it's staff's opinion that's the best way to address this issue is to do that, I'm certainly not wanting to stand in the way of it, but I just question the logic of it. And maybe it shouldn't, maybe that we're just doing this and that those industries that we're making this change for really shouldn't concern us, and they really technically should be qualified as M1 businesses because technology's changed and they can do what they need to do in a way that it's consistent with M1 use.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think that's where I am with it. Now, I'll agree, if they weren't knocking at the door, it may never have come up,
No.
right? Just like the street trees we just talked about.
You're,
Right, so.
you're talking specifically 336, though. Is that right, Mike?
330, yeah, 336, yeah. So if you, and I can send the link, of course, when we do stuff, we'll send a link to the NAICS lookup, and you can drill down into exactly what all those
Okay.
are, yeah.
And there's
Transportation equipment, and we might want to preclude the boat stuff, I mean, I don't know.
yeah, because there was just 2,000 of one and 9,000 of another, right? So it's talking about like 5 figures worth of uses that would be, yeah.
Oh, is that what this, this column is?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's individual descriptors of uses. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
if that's
no,
what that
don't
is.
take that, I'm not sure about that.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm not sure about that.
I was taking that
I
as a
just-
total of.
I'm sorry, I just meant to show you that.
Oh, okay.
These are the only main categories under the 336.
Okay,
So it's not just a 336, there's a 330, 3361, 6234, 679. These are, not sure what those numbers are.
yep. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but when I think about railroad stock manufacturing, I think,
mean,
well, maybe
probably
that's not something we
Maybe
want to
we might exclude that.
allow.
Okay, well, I think what we'd like to do, unless there's just complete aversion to it, is call for the public hearing on this text amendment for the February meeting. So we're to do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Anything
the
else?
indulgence.
Motions?
Second.
The second, we're adjourned. Thanks, guys.